Despite the dozens of federal agencies that are shut down this morning, many more will remain operational throughout the standoff. The U.S. Postal Service will continue regular mail delivery. Social Security checks will be sent out, and Medicare and Medicaid coverage will continue. TSA agents will stay on the job, providing security at airports, but will not get paid. Special counsel Robert Mueller's Russia investigation will continue, and the Smithsonian Museum and National Zoo in Washington, D.C. will remain open through at least January 1st.
Here to discuss some of this week's major developments is Sahil Kapur, national political reporter for Bloomberg News. Sahil, good morning to you. Good morning. So we've heard the blame game mentioned several times. We just said it. At this point where things stand right now, what is the political fallout from this partial shutdown?
Well, we are firmly in blame game territory. The politics of shutdowns always come down to who is to blame, and Democrats are saying this is the Trump shutdown. They are saying this is a temper tantrum that the president has thrown.
Trump has said he'll take the blame for it.
That's right. He is on tape saying he'll take the blame. I own this. He says he'll be proud to shut down the government over the issue of border security and the wall. And the president's allies are saying if only Democrats could have accepted this wall and given him some money for it, he campaigned on it, we could have avoided the shutdown.
In fact, it was his chief campaign promise. So is this do or die for President Trump?
It absolutely is. This is the issue on which he has built his political identity. This was his answer to voters as the source of their grievances. You know, he said immigration, uncontrolled migration, existing laws are the reason their jobs are going away. He's blamed that for crime. He said that's even the cause of the opioid epidemic. Now, these are very simplistic answers to complex problems, but they are answers. And polls show that his voters, Republican voters, overwhelmingly accept that, and they are, drawn to this issue. They support the wall in large numbers, but the problem is the American public at large opposes it, so he's caught in this box.
Yeah, so and his position actually changed because he got so much flack from the right when he seemed to be backing away.
That's correct. And Senator Bob Corker, the retiring Tennessee Republican, called that juvenile, referring to the president, that reversal. He says this is a tyranny of talk radio. Yeah. In other words, some voices on the right are basically controlling the actions of the White House, in his words.
One of the other big stories this week, Secretary of Defense James Mattis announcing his resignation, putting a letter out there that so many people were reading into this week. One of the big things we heard is with Mattis leaving, it will be the last adult in the room now gone. What is the fallout from this?
Right. Well, Mattis was seen as a big believer of the post-World War II order, the institutions that have prevented another bloody catastrophe of that sort from happening. His letter was an astonishing denunciation in many ways of the president's worldview. He talked about the importance of treating allies with respect and being clear-eyed about malign actors. Seemed to be a reference a lot of people took to the president's, very strong criticism at times of allies like France and Germany, and his cozy relationship with authoritarian leaders in Russia and North Korea.
And interesting, too, he omitted that salutation very respectfully at the end of that letter. There was no such reference to that is normally in a resignation letter.
Unusual for a Secretary of Defense to go out like this, being critical of a sitting president's policy.
The resignation was, of course, sparked by the pullout of troops from Syria. The president said ISIS in Syria has been defeated, but he's getting pushback on that from both Democrats and Republicans.
He is getting a lot of pushback. People say it's a hasty withdrawal that didn't go through the interagency process. It even seemed to shock some of his own some people in his administration that are overseeing these military operations. The bipartisan criticism was also that ISIS has not been defeated. But the president is sticking to his guns. He is not moving on this. He has talked about how he doesn't want the United States to be the policeman of the world. He said we're spending too much money in countries around the Middle East without getting much for it. And frankly, this stuff plays well politically across the spectrum.
Quickly, any glimmer of hope?
Reversing his decision?
No, in terms of, you see this bipartisanship out there, with the criminal justice reform bill.
Well, this was a modest series of steps that was seen as kind of a long overdue correction to some of the excesses of the tough on crime era of the 80s and 90s. It passed with an overwhelming vote, 358 members of the House, 87 senators, everyone from Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders on the left to Rand Paul and Mike Lee on the right, everyone from the ACLU to the Koch brothers. It's very rare, but this is a modest step, and I would not expect it to be replicated on too many issues.
Wow. Sahil Kapur, we thank you very much.
Thank you.